Good morning. Well, it's session 2 for sunset number 1, and I have pulled the paint out of the refrigerator, or out of the freezer that I had saved from last week. If you didn't have any paint saved from last week, or if you didn't paint with us last week, go back and watch the mixing video. It's let me see, it's called Sunset Number 1, Mixing Number 1. I don't remember, but anyway, I'll put a notation on the bottom of this one so that you can get up to speed with us. The colors we used so far and will be used in today's video will be the titanium white, the ultramarine green shade, the Windsor yellow, the Naples yellow, and then the Windsor red. The color we're adding in today is Payne's gray. So anyway, there's some pre-videos that I would suggest you watch if you haven't painted with us yet. You'll have to watch last week's to get up to speed on where we're at so far on this painting. But also, like I said, the mixing video, because we're going to take up from where we were last week, and let's get started. All right. You can see that I saved a lot of paint from last week. I mixed a lot, and I had explained that I mix a lot of paint simply because I hate having to stop and remix a color if I run low on it. I'd rather have an abundance. And I don't waste paint because I save it. And I had explained last week that I typically save it on styrofoam plates. And the only reason I'm still using styrofoam plates is because I had an abundance of them left from years past. And so I didn't want to just waste them because they're, I have them. But let me show you what I did do. While at Ingles this past week, I found this little shallow container. And it's about 2 inches deep, I guess. And I cut parchment paper to fit the bottom. And so now what I'm going to do, when I finish with my paint for the day, I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper, put in the bottom, scrape off my paint that I want to save, like so. Oops. And just transfer it to in here. And after I get all my paint in there, I will put another piece of parchment over top, seal it up, and put it in the freezer. That's going to serve so many wonderful purposes. First of all, I won't be contributing to styrofoam in the landfill, which is important to me. Secondly, the parchment paper is so much less expensive than the packets of paper that you buy from, Jerry's Artorama or, whatever art supply store you use that have their little tear-off sheets that you can throw away. Parchment paper, you can get it on a big roll. I get it from Amazon. You can also get it from your Sam's Club, your Costco, anywhere like that. And it will last for a long, long time. If you get a nice size, chunky roll, it'll last for a long, long time. So you're not going to be wasting that paper, or you're not going to be wasting money. You're going to, the paper, obviously, when you're finished with it, you're going to toss it. But that's the nice thing. You can toss these, and it's a one and done. There's very little waste, I think, personally. But also with the paint, that gives you the way to save them. To save your paint, you're not wasting your paint because you're going to put it in the freezer. It won't dry out on you. And look at this. Remember I explained to you last week that it's just as usable as it was. This has only been out of the freezer now for about maybe 15 minutes. And look how smooth and creamy that is. That paint is wonderful and ready to use. And I have never I've been using the Alkyd paints probably for about 18 years now, and I have never noticed a problem after having put them in the freezer. I've never noticed any flaking or anything that happens on the painting itself when it's used out of the freezer. So now I'm not going to make a blood oath that that's the case. I think that I can only attest to the fact that I've never had a problem. So it's only something that you can try for yourself and see how it works out. Now I do want to point out, I told you that I use like old t-shirts. This old t-shirt is on my lap. When I use very, very old t-shirts, scrounge these from your family members or your own drawers, your own. Even if you have to go to the Goodwill and pick up some really inexpensive little t-shirts, if you fold them and you put them on your lap, let me show you again. They're there just for a very quick wipe of your palette knife instead of constantly having to stop and grab a paper towel or something to clean that on. There again, I don't like using my paper towels up for that purpose because I use them to blot paint. All right. Now let's see. Last week we got the background sky, and today we're going to get these farthest clouds right here. The further away they are, that's where we're going to start. In oil painting, you're working from an acrylic, but you're working from the furthest distance toward you. Watercolor, it's just the opposite. You're working up close and then further away. So just remember, if you've worked in watercolor in the past, this will be kind of a new concept for you. Just remember that we're working from the furthest back toward us, okay? All right, let's see. We've got some pretty intense colors in these clouds. We're not going to worry about these up here or these up here yet. We're just gonna concentrate on these right in here. Now, let me make sure that I'm holding this photograph where you can see it. So let's first start out with, you see right in here we've got some little teeny skinny clouds that are just a yellow blaze basically. Let's mix some intense yellows and start right there. Make sure you're cleaning your palette knife off between your grabbing some color, because if you don't, what you're going to do is mix your colors up, and you don't want to do that. That does waste your color. All right. And sometimes this lemon yellow is so intense that I will tone it down with just a little bit of Naples, but let's see if we can get by with that. I think we can, but I think that even in one spot I need a little bit more white, and there I was getting ready to do exactly what I suggested you not do, which is mix without cleaning your palette knife off first. All right. There's one area just directly above that sun, if you see that, where that little ray of clouds is just intensely bright. All right, I think we got that. All right, next, you can see I saved a lot of these peachy colors from last week, and this one right here is a pretty good color for right there. It's just, we're going to tone it down just a little bit with some white. Move it over here where I can mix it easier. Of course, that color was pretty much just white. And I don't want to lighten it too much because that's a pretty intense color right there. Isn't that a pretty color? I guess you'd call it a coral. Okay, and that picks up the colors over there, but now we also want to pick up these colors just above the sun And that looks to me like it's got some of that lemon yellow in it. Those clouds just above the sun. And we want to work slow with this, because if you get too much, you're gonna have just wasted some color. Unless you like the color. Now, you don't have to go exactly with this photograph. Let me get a clean spatula, a palette knife. That way I won't have to keep wiping my palette knife off. Do you see how yellow that is above that sun area? I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of that. And in addition to being more yellow, it's also a lot lighter. So we can add a little bit of white to that. Okay, now I think we got the creaminess coming out in this direction. There's also a mid-range. So let's grab some of this and some of this and mix that mid-range. And I want to go a little bit yet more yellow with what's directly above the sun right there. So I need to give myself a little squirt of lemon. And I have to keep reminding myself to look at the back of my phone to make sure that you're seeing what I'm wanting you to see. I don't want to lose y'all in here. That's what I'm wanting to see. All right, I'm finally getting that yellow. All right. Now, just right above there. Oops. And there's just such a big range of those things. That's still a little too intense. Let's just pull that color in pretty slowly. Okay, we're good. Yeah. Now, let's do a mid-range on this one too. Because you can see how slowly it fades up to the purples. Actually, I think that's the color I was looking for, but I'll leave that because I think I'll use some of that just along above that sun a little bit. All right. I've got a big range of color there. I think we're good. And let's mix some of this as well. We'll go ahead and try to get that whole band in the back without messing with these clouds that are going to go in front. Okay, and get some of that paint off there. All right, let me see if I can slide this over so we can see these blues a little bit more. Okay, now these blues from last week, if you remember, they were just basically the ultramarine blue and the with a little bit of Naples yellow and white. Now, I'm going to work mostly with some Payne's Gray to purple them up, because I want them to be a somber gray or purple, and I'm going to work with that darkest color that I had in the sky. And let's go there first. And I bet you're not seeing this so well. Let me move my light over a little bit. All right, maybe that's going to help. Now the light's in the way. Y'all are going to have to be patient with me. I'm just having to move lights and cameras and everything around as needed. All right, now let's try. It's way blue, so we want to move that over and get us a pile of Payne's Gray and just move that blue in slowly. And you can see there's also a lot of Windsor Red in that color. So, and really the reason I'm using this blue is because I have it, and instead of using the white, instead of wasting more white anyway, I want to use up the color that I have. And you can do that. I mean, absolutely, just change things up. Practice. Color is nothing more than practice. As you get more familiar with the colors in your palette, and that's one of the reasons that I started with such a small palette. I think that I have only suggested that y'all purchase maybe 8 colors plus the big tube of titanium. I can't remember. I'd have to go back to that original video, but no more than 10, I don't think. And that's basically that reason, because we want to get really, really, really familiar with the colors we're using. All right, let's dip over here and grab some of that Windsor Red and purple these clouds up a little bit. As I had mentioned last week, I've had people that are truly purists suggest that, well, why don't you just use red, yellow, pure red, yellow, and blue to mix your colors from. I'm maybe someone that's more skilled than I am can do that, but the only thing I've ever done in attempting to use those colors is make mud. I mean, you have a kind of a greenish tint of mud, or you might have a purplish tint of mud, or you might have a orangish tint, but it's just truly mud. All right, now over here you can see that those colors are still, this is more the color of these clouds up top, even still too blue for them. So I want to have to get a little bit more of the Windsor out on my palette. Let's put him down here closer. All right. And what I think I want to do is go ahead and just mix the several different intense colors that I'm seeing in there, and then I'll lighten them. And I'm going to lighten them with those blues in the back anyway, because I've got some very pale blues and got to use those up. So what I was saying is that by using such a limited palette, our colors are not going to be exact. They'll be you know, as close as we can get them. But, and that'll be close enough. If you want, you know, your colors to be exact, you're going to have to expand your palette just a little bit, or understand color theory just a bit more than I do. All right. Now, let's go ahead and bring this guy in here. To lighten it up. And this is the most painful part of painting to me, is mixing color. You can tell. I do struggle with it. So if y'all are really good at doing color, just ignore what I'm doing and just go with it. This is one of the reasons that I mix an abundance of color the first time through, so that I'm not constantly having to go back and remix. I don't like this part of it. It's important part of it. It is. Probably every artist has, you know, a step or two that they don't like. All right, let me see if I'm heading in the right direction with this. Oops, lots of blue on the back of there. I'm getting there, but we're still a long way. Let's just make some really, really red down here and see if that's what I need to do. I think it is. And then I can lighten it up. All right, that's where I needed to go with that. All right, now, instead of wasting those lighter blues up there that I had last week, let's pull those down in, because they don't have so much blue in them that they're going to change the color dramatically. Mix all those extra colors around the edges, because I don't want to pull those in when I'm grabbing paint. All right, now possibly y'all are seeing how warm that is, and I don't have it warm at all. It's still a pretty cool purple. So instead of pulling the lemon yellow in, let's try bringing in just a little bit of our Naples. I think that'd be a better color just to warm that up a bit with. All right. I'm having to look around I think that's close. That's good. All right, now you can see that we've got some really pale or pinky clouds up here in the front. We're not worrying about those just yet. Any of those that you see in front of this band back here. All right, let's see. We've got some of these dark colors over here. And some of these light colors then. All right. I think we've got enough color there to start with. Let me see. This one needs to be, both of those need to be lightened considerably. So let's go ahead and lighten those up, because I don't see anywhere other in the very forefront. We're not ready for that yet. Other than in the very forefront clouds like these, that I'm going to use anything that dark. So let's go ahead and lighten those up considerably for those further back clouds. And again, I used just some of my real pale blue in place of the white. That looks like a more usable color for over in here. Let's get rid of that and pull some more real pale blue into this color. And if you hadn't saved your paint, or you didn't have any left and you're using just white, that's perfectly fine. Your color is going to be just a little bit different than mine, but it will be almost imperceptible. So don't worry about it. We're working on good enough. I'm at the good enough stage in my life, and it's been so many years since I've painted that I'm having to relearn how to mix my colors as well. So those of you who are painting with me, you're just going to have to be patient. I can't even apologize for this. This is just, it is what it is. And so I've been away from the palette and the canvas and the brushes for almost 7 years, and that takes a toll on one's memory. All right, now looking at that sky, hopefully you can see all those colors in that sky. And let me move now a little light. We'll shine it on there to give the bigger picture. Oops. I'm going to have paint all over the world. Let's put that right there. And some of that looks really muddy and ooky, but you know, it's the colors that are there, and when they're on the canvas and they're spread thinner, you'll be surprised at how nice they look. All right, I kept this mixing video a little bit shorter than the last one, so I think we're good. I'm ready to turn this camera around and do our painting video. So I'll just call this one enough, and I'll see you in the next one.